Good morning, everybody. Welcome to day 3 of the Success Without Sacrifice Summit. We are so excited to have you here, whether you are here with us live or you are watching the recording. So many amazing speakers over the last 2 days. Karen and I were just talking that I'm starting to lose my voice because I've been talking so much over the last couple of days. So such a great lineup today for our speakers who are going to be finishing out our sessions. If you have a team of people, whether it's VAs or employees, or you want to hire a team of people, whether that's W-2s or VAs, today is the day for you. We are going to be talking about all things communication, leadership, tools that you can use to really have a team that thrives together. And so that is our goal for you for today. So excited to have all of you here, for all of those of you who are watching the recording as well. I'm going to get us started today. I'm going to be talking about tools to really improve team performance and employee relationships. One of the things that I see for business owners who have teams who are kind of on the feeling that burnout, a lot of times it has to do with they've added team members and there's frustration with team members. And women especially take that on emotionally. They tend to take it home with them. They take on a lot more than I think men do. I think men are a lot better at compartmentalizing. For those of you males who are here, correct me if I'm wrong. I just know how women kind of function. And so I want to talk about that today because it's a huge piece of frustration. In order to grow and scale, we need a team, we need people around us, but that also can add layers of stress. And so I really want to identify this and get down to the root of this. Hey, Dave, welcome. Welcome to day, I almost said day 2. Welcome to day 3. Dave's going to be sharing with us later today as well. So when we have a team of people, whether that's interns or VAs or employees or whoever that is, that can add lots of layers of stress, right? And ideally, we want to bring on people to reduce our stress. But when we start to have personalities that mesh, that can start to cause some problems. So I'm just going to be sharing a couple tools that I love, that I personally use, not only in my own life, but with our clients and with the organizations that we work with. So I've touched on a few of these over the last couple of days, but today I really want to dive in a little bit better. First of all, I want to say I do not have a background in HR at all. I have no background in hiring. However, I do have a lot of experience working with teams. I worked with sports teams for 14 years, and there are very similar dynamics between coaches and athletes, and relationships between athletes amongst themselves, right? They're, especially when you're talking about women who are on teams, there's a lot of emotions, there's a lot of hormones involved. A lot of times there's miscommunication, there can be resentment, there's a lot of different dynamics and things that are going on. And so I want to just get down to that and talk about that a little bit. And also tell you just how I kind of even got into hiring. That was not in my wheelhouse. It's not something I intended on doing. I ended up having a client, Lisa, who was on day 1. She came on and gave a little testimonial. She asked if I would help her with hiring and doing their initial hiring process. For 2 reasons. One, because she realized when we do an energy assessment and we talk about where should you be spending your time and your energy, she realized that one of the biggest energy drainers for her was the initial onboarding process, resume reviews, the initial screening process. She did not love doing that. It's a lot of time. It's a lot of energy out of her already busy schedule. And so she wanted to be able to outsource that. And I had been working with her for 2 years. And so I understood her leadership model. I understood their team culture. I understood who they were looking for. And so that's how I was really brought into the hiring process about a year ago, maybe even over a year ago. I can't even remember. It's probably been a year and a half, maybe now. And so now I have started helping other organizations with their initial screening process, and also with team culture and team performance. So for this morning, we're mostly just going to be focusing on tools for team performance, team culture, and what that looks like. And then later today, I'm going to dig into a little bit more about the hiring process and how you can streamline that and really alleviate some of your stress. I love talking about team performance and team culture because when we talk about motivating people, I find that a lot of people, they hire based on skill set, maybe resume, or maybe it's like, oh yeah, I feel like they have a good personality. But they're not always hiring based on what the person is really passionate about. And that is what I really love to do, is to make sure that not only the business owner is fulfilled in their role, but also that their team members are fulfilled in their role. And the reason is because if you can put somebody in a role where they are naturally motivated and fulfilled, you don't have to work to motivate them and push them. And that's where frustration comes in a lot of times for business owners. So I'm going to share my screen here and just talk about a couple of these different tools that we use. Can you guys see my screen? I can see my screen, but I can't see you guys. So let me fix. Why can't I see? There we go. Oh, lost my screen share. Okay, what is happening? Why can't I see you?
We see it, Cheree.
You can see it?
Yeah.
Okay, I just can't see you guys, but that's all right. So when we're talking about tools to improve employee relations, team performance, there's a couple different things here that I'm going to dive into, but the main ones that we're going to highlight and really talk about today for the purpose of this is, the first one is the 6 working geniuses. If you guys were here yesterday, I talked about how to discover your genius to really optimize your time and your energy. And one of those ways to do that for yourself and for your team is working genius. Today, we're going to talk about, our focus is going to be more on how does this play into the hiring process and also into team performance. And then Enneagram, this is really to enhance team dynamics. So working genius, I like to use to identify what questions to ask in the hiring process, identifying what genius does the candidate need, and really asking questions around that, versus coming into a team that is maybe they're not even dysfunctional. Maybe they just want to improve their performance and their productivity, and they just want to feel happier in their workplace. Working genius is great for both of those things. Enneagram is really I don't use Enneagram as a screening tool for the hiring process. It's more to enhance team dynamics and communication. And then the team assessment, this is something we personally created. This is our Success Without Sacrifice team assessment. And it's really used to help identify, this is for people who already have a team of people, usually at least a couple. And it helps identify some of the gaps in communication where and frustrations are for employees, whether that is miscommunication with the business owner, or that's a communication issue within the team itself. And so that really helps identify the gaps and how we can work to bridge some of those gaps. Because a lot of times the business owner thinks that they're communicating one thing, and then they're frustrated that the employee isn't doing what they're supposed to be doing, and there's some sort of disconnect there. And so that's really what we use the team assessment for. So the first one, let's really talk about the 6 working genius and really what this is used for. So again, I love to use working genius. I love to come into a team and identify what are the missing gaps. So with 6 working genius, if you're not familiar with this, I went over this yesterday, so you can go back and watch that. But there's 6 different types of working geniuses. Everybody has 2 geniuses, 2 competencies, and 2 frustrations. And so what we can do is we can, first of all, identify within the team what are the missing gaps. Ideally, we want everybody, every genius to be fulfilled within a team. That's not always ideal, but we at least want somebody to have the competency. And the reason for that is because we have our visionaries, right? Our idea people, our people who can like, how can we make things better? And then we have the people who are going to help, who are going to support, who are going to move it through. And then you have your finishers, right? The people who are the detail oriented, going to get it done. So depending on the role that needs filled and their skill set, we really use this as a way to identify what are the missing gaps in a team to fill the gap when hiring, but then also coming into a team that's already functioning. So one of our clients had a team of 5, and they do a lot of personal development type stuff. They really have a great team culture and really want their team to thrive. And we came in and did an assessment for them of this. Everybody took the assessment. We identified where they were at, what geniuses, what competencies, what frustrations they had. And amongst their team of 5, most of them were pretty balanced out. And there was one, she was working in her frustration 90% of the time. 90% of her tasks were her frustrations. And so she would get frustrated and she was grumpy and she's a high performer. She was still getting the job done, but she wasn't really fulfilled and happy in that role. And so what we were able to do is she was like, oh my gosh, I like hate doing this, right? And somebody else was like, oh my gosh, I love doing spreadsheets and data. Like, yes, can I have that, please? Right. And so it allows teams to shift around tasks, even if it's not within their role or their job description, based on what they are good at. If somebody is doing something that that drains their energy, eventually they're going to get burnout and frustrated, and then we don't have good team retention. It also really helps for growth trajectory, looking at career development. How can you identify where somebody's really good and how to move them into that to help really align with your vision of where you want to go and identify people that can kind of get you there. So we love 6 working geniuses for both hiring and for team performance, team culture. If there's issues within a team, this is a great way to come in and figure out, okay, what is happening here? I talked about this yesterday. So Patrick Lencioni is the one that created this model. This is a book that you can listen to. It's a super easy read. And he kind of talks about this, but he kept getting in these management roles or starting businesses, and he couldn't figure out like why he was so frustrated. He loved the initial like idea creation, but then when it came to like rallying people to do their job, he was getting frustrated, and he was starting on the point where he was going to lose team members. And so this is really where this was created out of. This is a fantastic tool if you are just want to improve performance, or you're having frustrations with team members, or your team members are feeling frustrated. Okay. There we go. I was like, why isn't it letting me go to the next slide? And then Enneagram. Hillary Kay is actually going to be on next talking about this, motivating your team with Enneagram, but just a kind of a grand overview. Really what the Enneagram does, if you're not familiar with it, is it's kind of like a personality test, but not a personality test. It really digs into like how do you naturally operate? What are your motivators? What are you afraid of? It helps just give a deeper understanding of the people around you, uncovers their true motivations and their communication styles. It's great for personal growth to help people to understand like, okay, if I am in a stress state, how am I functioning? It just brings awareness to people to understand what are their triggers, why do they do the things that they do, what motivates them. And so as a business owner, if you can understand that about yourself and also about your team and how they communicate differently, then it's a win-win for everybody. Really helps create complementary teams and and helps leaders to be better leaders. So especially as a leader, if you can understand what your triggers are, because employees are like children, like they're gonna trigger you. And so if you can understand, why is that triggering for me? Where is that coming from? It starts with you as the leader, right? And so if you can get an understanding of that, and then understanding your employees' perspective of why are they doing this? So I'll give an example of this in my own life. I'm an Enneagram 7. I'm like the idea creator, and I'm like, let's just do it. Let's just go for it. My husband is an Enneagram 6. He's like more the worried, anxious type. And he has a backup plan. He wants to know like all of the steps. He's very analytical. And we communicate and we think very differently. And he used to, I remember we would leave the house and be like, did you turn the oven off? Did you lock the doors? Did you? And I'm like, yes. I used to think it was like an attack against me, like he didn't trust me, but that's really not what it was. For him, it's he wants to, he shows love by protecting people, right? And making sure that his family and his home is safe. And so once I understood how he thought and why he thought the way he did, I had a better understanding, realizing it was an attack against me. Okay, so this is really, really valuable tool when it comes to working with teams. And Hillary's going to talk about this more, about how to motivate your team using Enneagram. Okay, and then when it comes to our team assessment, I talked about this a little bit, but this is really an assessment to help identify gaps within your team. So each team member actually takes the team assessment, and we look at 4 different areas. So we look at team dynamics and team culture. How does your employee interact with other employees? What do they think about other employees? And then we look at energy. How are they energized in their job and their role and the tasks that they're doing, or are they on the brink of burnout? And then alignment. Are they in alignment with your vision, with the vision of the company, with the vision of the owner? Are they in alignment with themselves? And then we look at mindset. And what are the mindsets that are either keeping them stuck, that are interfering with work-life balance, mindsets that maybe there's fear if they're in a sales role or they're having a hard time. So it identifies a couple different areas, and it allows us to really identify the gaps within a team. So then we can present that not in a like, this isn't anonymous, right? It's not like an attack against the business owner. It's really meant to open up the communication and identify gaps of how can we improve the culture and each employee and what they're doing, and the communication between business owner and employee. So it's really to just identify pain points for the team, and for the business owner too, right? Because if there's pain points within the team, then there's going to be pain points for the business owner. Really improving team dynamics. So we want to create a self-sufficient team that requires less hands-on management. And so I find for business owners that are in that phase where they've brought on team members because they had to, but now they really need to move working on their business and not in their business. And in order to do that, they need a self-sufficient team who's not constantly relying on them. And then helps boost productivity because we can identify where the gaps are. Then we know how to shift and what to change and what to improve. So those are the 3 tools that we use the most, that I really love to use, that I think are the most valuable. There's lots of other different tools out there. DISC assessment, if you guys got the burnout busting toolkit for hiring, DISC is one in there. That's a really good one for the last layer of the hiring process, to make sure that are they a sales role? Do they need more customer service? What are the dynamics of that? But when we're talking about team performance and coming into a team and working with a team, I prefer these assessments.